Grisha is the son of a rich businessman named Pavel. Pavel built his fortune through his own company in Moscow. Grisha never had to work for anything. He lives in a large apartment paid for by his father and drives a different luxury car almost every week. He spends his nights in nightclubs surrounded by bottles, music, and strangers. He sleeps with different women and forgets their names by morning. He drives expensive cars too fast through the streets. Whenever he breaks the law, his father's name and his father's money usually make the problem disappear. Inside one club, he leaves with a woman he just met, climbs into his sports car, and speeds off into the night. One night, Grisha gets behind the wheel again. He crashes into another vehicle on a busy street. Police officers arrive at the scene. Grisha steps out of the wreck laughing. He tells the officers to call his father instead of writing a report. The officers recognize the name immediately, but this time it doesn't work. Pavel arrives at the scene himself and offers a stack of cash to the lead officer. The bribe fails. Grisha is arrested, and for the first time he is actually facing jail. That's when something finally changes. Pavel picks up his phone and decides this has to stop. Pavel calls his friend Anastasia that same evening. She is a television producer. She is also his friend with benefits. Anastasia listens to Pavel's complaints about Grisha. She tells him about a man she knows named Lev Arnoldovich. Lev is a psychologist. His treatment methods are unusual. Some people call them extreme, but Anastasia says they get results every time. Pavel meets Lev in person at a quiet office filled with books and old photographs on the walls. Lev sits across from him and explains his idea calmly. He wants to convince Grisha that he has traveled back in time to the 19th century. He wants to put Grisha into a world with no money, no name, and no power. Lev says only real suffering can break habits this deep. Pavel asks if it will work. Lev tells him it always does. Pavel agrees to fund the project. A team gets to work building an entire fake village. They construct wooden houses, a stable, a manor house, and dirt roads. Workers haul in old furniture, oil lamps, and handmade tools to make every detail look authentic. They dress workers in old peasant clothing made from rough fabric. They train actors to act like landowners, serfs, and farmhands from the year 1860, rehearsing their roles for weeks before filming begins. Hidden cameras get installed inside walls, trees, and rooftops across the whole village, feeding live footage back to a control room. Without wasting any time, the team puts their plan into action. Anastasia arranges a staged car accident on a quiet road outside the city. Grisha is knocked unconscious. Grisha wakes up lying in a stable. Hay covers the ground beneath him. His head pounds and his clothes feel rough and unfamiliar against his skin. He sits up and looks around. The walls are made of rough wood. The air smells like animals and dirt. He stands up and stumbles outside, expecting to see a hospital or a road. Instead, he sees an entire village of wooden cottages, fields, and dirt paths stretching out under a gray sky. People in old-fashioned clothes walk past him carrying buckets and baskets. A man with a thick beard and a torn shirt tells him to get back to work. Grisha laughs and tells him this is a joke. He says someone is going to pay for this prank, that he will sue everyone involved once he finds a phone. Nobody around him breaks character. He is told the year is 1860. He is told serfdom will not be abolished in Russia for another 6 months. He is told he now belongs to the landowner of this estate as a serf. His new job is to take care of the horses in the stable. There was a problem right away. Grisha is terrified of horses. An overseer named Avdi, a heavyset man holding a whip, shouts at him to get up and finish his work. Grisha tells him he does not take orders from anyone. Avdi cracks the whip near his feet. They drag him back to the village square by his arms, his shirt torn at the shoulder. Grisha shouts that this cannot be legal, that someone needs to stop this, that he knows people in Moscow who will end this. At that exact moment, a young woman rides into the square on horseback, her hair loose and her dress catching the wind. Her name is Aglaya. She is the daughter of the landowner, a man named Dmitri. It is her name day, and the whole estate has gathered to celebrate. She looks at Grisha bleeding in the dirt and asks her father to spare him further punishment as her gift for the occasion. Dmitri studies the prisoner for a long moment, then nods and orders the whip lowered. Grisha falls to his knees in the dirt, gasping, and he stops fighting it and starts living inside this new reality. Meanwhile, the truth behind the curtain becomes clear. The entire village is a production. Lev and Anastasia run the operation from a hidden control room filled with rows of monitors showing every angle of the estate. Every cottage, tree, and barn hides a camera. A team of psychologists studies Grisha's reactions around the clock. The villagers, the overseer, even Aglaya and her father are all paid actors, following a script written weeks in advance.
The plan from the writers is straightforward. They want Grisha to fall in love with Aglaya. They hope a forbidden romance between a serf and a landowner's daughter will soften him and teach him real emotion, the kind he never learned to feel back in Moscow. But things don't get easier. In fact, they get worse. Aglaya is being forced into an arranged marriage to an older, wealthy man she does not love. Grisha barely notices her pain. He continues acting selfish around the estate, mocking the other workers and ignoring orders whenever he feels like it. Pavel watches the live footage from the control room every evening after work. Week after week, he sees no real change in his son's behavior. Grisha still mocks the workers, still refuses to follow orders, still treats Aglaya's feelings as unimportant. His patience runs out. He tells Lev the project has failed. He threatens to shut the whole operation down and bring Grisha home immediately.
At the same time, a young woman named Liza works on the estate as a horse trainer. She's calm around the animals that frighten Grisha so badly, walking right up to them and stroking their necks without any fear in her movements. One afternoon, Grisha watches her dismount from a horse near the stable fence. As she swings off the saddle, her dress lifts slightly. Grisha notices that she is wearing modern underwear, something that should not exist in the 1860s. Curious and reckless as always, Grisha grabs at the bottom of her dress to get a closer look. Liza shoves him away hard. Other workers nearby stop and stare at him in disgust. For the first time in his life, Grisha realizes he has gone too far. He walks back to Liza and says he is sorry. It is the first apology he has ever given anyone. Pavel watches this exact moment unfold on the monitors. Something about it convinces him to give the project one more chance. He tells Lev to continue. And then something unexpected happens. Lev throws out the original script. Instead of building a romance with Aglaya, he decides Liza should become the center of Grisha's story. At first, Liza wants nothing to do with him. She finds him arrogant and difficult to be around. Still, she agrees to keep playing along and help guide his transformation forward. Grisha starts spending more time around Liza. He helps her carry feed buckets to the stable each morning. He listens when she talks about her work with the horses and the way she calms them down with a quiet voice. One evening, he sits beside her on a wooden fence and tells her about his life back in Moscow, leaving out the parts where he hurt people. She listens but says little in return. Slowly, something in him begins to shift. At the same time, he keeps watching the young master of the estate, a man named Alexei. Alexei shouts at the servants for small mistakes and refuses to apologize. Watching Alexei mistreat others makes Grisha uncomfortable with his own past behavior. But this time, something is different behind the scenes, too. Polina, the actress playing Aglaya, is furious. She has lost her lead storyline to Liza. She feels replaced and humiliated. She decides to take matters into her own hands. Polina finds Anton, the actor playing Alexei. Anton is also Liza's real boyfriend outside the project. Polina tells Anton that Liza is planning to start something real with Grisha behind his back. Anton grows angry and jealous. That same night, Polina and Anton end up sleeping together. At the same time, Liza and Grisha happen to walk past the cottage window on their way back from the fields after a long day of work. They see Polina and Anton together inside through the gap in the curtain. Because the characters they play on the estate are written as brother and sister, Aglaya and Alexei, both Liza and Grisha believe they just witnessed an act of incest. They back away from the window without saying a word, both shaken by what they saw, and walk the rest of the way to the stable in silence. Word of the incident reaches Lev the next morning through one of the camera operators monitoring the night footage. Furious, he calls them both into his office and fires them on the spot, ordering them off the estate within the hour and telling them never to come back. Polina does not accept this quietly. Once she is gone, she goes straight to a news reporter she knows from her old acting jobs. She exposes the secret project to the public and falsely claims that Grisha is being tortured against his will on the estate. Her story spreads fast across the news, picked up by television channels within hours. Police officers open an official investigation into the hidden village and begin preparing to raid the location. Without wasting any time, Anastasia and the production team scramble to get Grisha out of the village before officers arrive. Lev insists Grisha needs one final powerful moment to lock in his transformation before everything shuts down. He proposes a bold idea. Actors dressed as Mongol warriors from the Golden Horde, carrying spears and riding horses of their own, will stage a surprise invasion of the village. The riders charge through the gates at full speed, knocking over fence posts and scattering livestock. Smoke bombs go off near the cottages. Grisha does not stop to question the historical accuracy of an attack centuries out of place. All he sees is panic and chaos breaking out around him. The fake warriors grab Liza, planning to drag her away on horseback. She screams his name. Grisha freezes and turns to run back towards the stable, away from the danger.
But before he can hide for good, something stops him. He turns back around. He grabs the reins of the very horse he was once too afraid to touch and climbs onto its back. He charges into the chaos, knocking one rider off his horse with a swing of his arm. He fights off the men holding Liza, pulls her up behind him, and rides hard out of the village gates. At the same time, real police officers are pulling up to the scene outside the estate. They watch horses, costumes, and a dramatic chase unfold in front of them. They assume they have stumbled onto the set of a historical wedding film and decide not to interfere. Grisha and Liza ride through the forest, putting distance between themselves and the village. Branches snap under the hooves of the horses. At the edge of the trees, they suddenly come across something that has no place in 1860, a modern gas station lit up with bright signs and paved asphalt. Grisha pulls the horse to a stop and stares at the lights, trying to make sense of what he is seeing. He climbs off the horse and walks toward the pumps, reaching out to touch one of them. Just then, a hidden sniper fires a tranquilizer dart from a distance in the trees. It strikes Grisha in the shoulder, and he drops to the ground next to the horse, unconscious. Grisha wakes up. Pavel tells him a different version of events. He says the real car accident put Grisha into a coma for 3 months. He says there was never any village, never any serfdom, and never a woman named Liza. Grisha believes his father's story. His personality is clearly changed. He speaks more calmly and treats people around him with more respect than before. One night, Grisha forces himself to go out to a club out of old habit. He stands near the bar without ordering a drink. He runs into Polina and Anton by chance near the entrance. Seeing how lost he looks, the two of them pull him aside and decide to tell him the truth. They explain that the project was completely real, that Liza is a real woman who works as a horse trainer, and that Pavel lied to him to cover up the public scandal caused by Polina's leak to the press. Without wasting any time, Grisha leaves the club and goes searching for Liza. He drives out to a riding school on the edge of the city, gravel crunching under his tires as he pulls into the lot. He finds her standing in the stable yard, brushing down a horse just like she used to on the estate. The two of them meet face to face for the first time outside the fake world of the estate. She looks at him without saying a word at first, then she asks him what took him so long. Soon after, Grisha goes back to Pavel. Around the same time, Pavel and Anastasia decide to get married. They hold a small ceremony outdoors with close friends in attendance. In the final scene, a new, spoiled young man is dragged unconscious through a stable door into the very same fake village, dressed as one of the estate's actors, is Grisha himself, now working alongside Lev and Anastasia on their next project, ready to watch another spoiled rich man's son learn the same hard lesson he once learned. So, what did you think about this story? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting stories. See you in the next video.